Huh? Invite everyone to come?
Yeah. Oh, darn.
No. Why is this not working?
All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the regular council meeting, September 8th at 6 p.m. We had no closed session tonight, so I'll call the open session to order. Nick, would you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Thanks. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And since we have members joining tonight via Zoom, can we do a roll call, please?
Sure. For the record, we have Councilmember Mendoza and Burris planning to join us on Zoom, but they are currently not available. So I will roll call in the room. So Councilmember Ackerman.
Present.
Fatula.
Here.
And Mayor Lohman.
Here. Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda order?
So moved. Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And we'll move on to agency reports. Sergeant Griffiths. And Chief Estes, Chief Egan.
Well, good evening, Mayor Lohman and members of the City Council, Brian Estes, County Fire Chief, Sergeant Kevin Griffiths with the Placer County Sheriff's Office, and Battalion Chief Brian Egan, our local County Fire Battalion Chief here in the Colfax area. As I spoke to you at the last council meeting, we focused on the transition, 60-day transition of the Colfax Volunteer Fire Department into the Placer County Fire Department. And as I promised, we were going to come back tonight and give you a brief overview on the river fire. It seems like a million years ago now that we've already had some other significant incidents in the county, but I don't want to understate the work and the efforts and where we sit today because of the strong work from all of our first responders on the river fire. So next slide, please. I'm going to start out with a little bit of an overview from the fire department side, turn it over to Sergeant Griffiths for the evacs and repop, and then let Chief Egan put a little bit of a personal spin on it as a local resident and the initial attack incident commander. The first slide here shows the topographic infrared map that really shows the perimeter of the river fire. I think everyone knows roughly where it started down in the campground area at the bottom of Milk Ranch there. It progressed basically with the topography of the Bear River drainage. Within a very short time, it progressed into Nevada County on the west side of the river and burned with predominantly a topography-driven fire with our normal southwesterly winds impacting both the communities around unincorporated Colfax and unincorporated Nevada County. The fire that evening, the forward progress of the fire was stopped in and around the area of Chicago Park and Peardale in Nevada County along Highway 174 and Mount Olive Drive. Next slide. So some of the statistics from the river fire. The fire burned 2,619 acres. As of today, it is 100% contained and has been fully controlled. We did have 142 structures destroyed, and that's a combination of residential and commercial. We had 2 structures damaged, 2 firefighter injuries occurred, and 2 civilian injuries occurred. All of those were minor in nature, thankfully. The weather at the time of this fire was really very typical of a real hot summer day in the middle of fire season in the foothills of western Placer County. It was 96 degrees, 14% relative humidity. One of the things in the fire service that we always live by is that once your humidity gets below 20%, that's when your propensity to have spot fires out in front of your main fire really triggers. And so we were at that spotting potential with a 14% RH. Our winds, very typical for that time of the afternoon, 2 to 4 from the south-southwest. Our ignition component was 87, and that directly relates to spotting, and we've talked about that a little bit. The easiest way to explain that to the layperson is that I take 100 matches and I throw them out into dry vegetation. The percentage or the amount of those 100 matches that start a new fire equals the ignition component. So on that particular day, 87 matches would have started new fires. As that relates to the fire spread, every spot fire that came down, 87 out of every 100 spots started a new fire. We were seeing spotting on this particular fire in excess of 1 mile ahead of the main fire.
And is the maximum for that 100?
Yeah, that's the analogy we use, is out of 100 matches.
Out of 100.
Yeah. Next slide. The resource commitment was tremendous on this fire. We did have the Dixie fire that was in full swing when the river fire took off. It was prior to the Caldor fire burning south and southeast of us, but we did have a significant resource commitment already out of the unit at that time when this fire broke. But with that, because of the threat to life and property in and around the city and unincorporated areas of Placer County, this fire was prioritized for about a 3-hour period as the #1 priority in the state of California. With that, we were able to receive a total of 1,300 firefighters assigned over the height of the fire, 93 fire engines, 32 hand crews, 27 dozers. Our incident command post and base we set up at the Gold Country Fairgrounds, and at the height that week, we were feeding over 2,000 meals per day. One of the keys to our success were our air operations that day. When we did receive that prioritization of the fire, we got all the aircraft diverted. One of the mantras in our agency's initial attack on new fires is that we want to keep all new fires as small as possible. And so part of that is committing aircraft off of larger fires to keep those new fires small. We're fortunate that not only we have the Grass Valley Air Attack Base just a stone's throw to the north and northwest of us, but we also have McClellan Air Tanker Base, which supports all of our heavy jet air tankers. At the height of our air operations that day, we had 15 air tankers assigned, 7 helicopters, 2 air attack platforms, and delivered almost 300,000 gallons of retardant in that first day. Over the length of the fire, we dropped over 147,000 gallons of water from helicopters, and the Grass Valley Air Attack Base from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to sundown delivered 47 consecutive loads into the tankers with an 11-minute turnaround time from the time that those tankers pulled into the pits to the time that they were rotating out the end of the runway, 11 minutes for a period of time between 2 o'clock in the afternoon and sundown. And that really resulted in some of our successes out there. As of right now, as I said, the fire is 100% contained. We will maintain fire line suppression repair, which is repairing some of those dozer lines, et cetera. And we're working closely with the county on stabilization efforts and making sure that if we do get a heavy winter, that those slopes in and around Colfax are stabilized. Our damage inspection is complete. And obviously, we've reassigned all those resources back either to cover or to other major incidents. We worked in supporting OES in the local assistance center here in Colfax. The fire was 100% CAL FIRE jurisdiction, and our total cost for suppression borne by CAL FIRE was about $9.8 million for that one fire. So thankfully, because an FMAG or federal FEMA grant was approved, we were able to get good reimbursement back to our local government cooperators on both the fire side and the law enforcement side. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Sergeant Griffiths for a few points on the law enforcement, evac, and repopulation efforts.
Good evening. So starting with our initial response, our call came in at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Within 5 minutes, we had the first 3 deputies coming on scene at the Bear River Campground, started evacs right away. Those were your deputies from the Colfax area. By about 10 minutes after 2, we had our first supervisor in the area starting to push those evacuations. And by 4:18, we developed a unified command with CAL FIRE. I've talked about unified command before, but you'll see that here across Placer County. It's unique to our county. We're right next to CAL FIRE whenever these fires happen, and that stops the communication right there. We're able to communicate, they tell us what they need, and we start going to work. If we need something, they start going to work on that. So that worked out very well there. Our command post was actually established at Mill Branch in Spring Valley at about 2:26 in the afternoon, or 2:26 that afternoon. And by 2:28, we were sending out our Placer alert message to start evacuating people at that moment. Within the first hour of this fire, we had 58 sworn personnel within the area of the fire doing evacuations and working the command post. That's important because that's unique to a Wednesday when we have a bunch of units training. Our SWAT team was training at the old dump site right here in Colfax. The dive team was on their way back from El Dorado County and diving in the South Fork of the American River. All those resources were able to respond immediately to the fire. And then we were able to call our corrections division and get transportation deputies that are usually handling the transported inmates to and from courts to bring brand new vans that we just haven't outfitted yet up to the fire and start staging those at Shady Glen Mobile Home Parks to be ready to evacuate people that maybe didn't have a ride to get out of the community. Next slide, please. Like I said, the mass notification, if you haven't signed up for Placer Alert, that's what we work on constantly. That's where we're going to send things out, that notification to the community. We get there as sergeants, we automatically put in our evacuation zone to our dispatch center, and they send that out via phone messages, via text messages, and then also on all our social media posts. And that puts that notification to everybody else. With the help of the community, that is where our success came from. Our deputies getting out there ahead of CAL FIRE to allow them to go to work, and the community actually taking their role and getting out of the areas that we needed them to get out of. Remember, this fire burned very fast, very quickly. Unfortunately, we lost a few houses, but we didn't lose a single person to this fire. Everybody we asked to get out went willingly and got out of the way so that the fire guys could do their work. And we appreciate that from this community. It's one of the biggest successes we had out there was just the community success. After we got through that initial night, we went to security patrols of the evacuation zones. We evacuated a very large area of this city, of the county surrounding this county. We evacuated it for over 24 hours due to the fact that there may be winds that came back the next day, and we weren't sure if that fire was going to blow back on itself or come out of the burn zone at a different location. So we were asked to hold on to those evacuation zones a little bit longer. We had 6 deputies patrolling. We had CHP at roadblocks, not allowing people in. Our number one priority when we do evacuations, the very next thing we're looking at is how and when we can get people back in. Going into the repopulation part of it, within 6 days, we had everybody that could go back to a house back into their house. That's unheard of for this. What it takes to get people back into their houses, it takes us working with CAL FIRE. Chief Egan and I met every morning after the first day, and we went over a map and tried to figure out where it was safe to put people back into their houses. Once we would do that from a fire side, we would then meet with PG&E and all our other cooperators and discuss what our plan was for the day and send them out to make those areas safe. In the afternoon, they would come back to us, report to us whether they got all the PG&E power lines down, the trees cut out of the roads repaired, propane tanks taken care of. Once we got all that back by the end of the day, that's when we were able to release different sections of the city and greater area of Colfax back to the people. So I know that it was rough on people to be evacuated from their houses as long as they were, but there truly was a need to do that. It was to keep the fire personnel out there fighting the fire and being safe with all the people that wanted to get back into their homes. We wanted to get them out of the way. We had a bunch of power lines down. As you are aware, if you're still off of Hillcrest, Bearview, White Oak. They're looking at doing some other things with the PG&E lines there, and we just needed to get those areas safe. Next slide. So first day of the incident, our dispatch center received 293 911 calls for a combined total of 905 calls that day. There's 4 dispatchers that are working that dispatch center when this happens. So you can imagine how busy they were. Every year between CAL FIRE and the Sheriff's Office, we put on unified command training. That's where we actually go to training for a day. We work simulations of fires and events that have happened in Placer County, and we put it, it's almost like a stress test. A sergeant will be next to a battalion chief or a captain at the back of their vehicles, and they'll start getting radio information. They'll start getting people walking up to them, telling them different things to try to really make them kind of stress under that. And they have to be making decisions with all this different information, which is the exact same type of information they would get on a fire incident or any other great incident. It's worked very well for us in bringing this events like this in our county to a faster resolution. We've also developed our pre-incident Colfax all hazard planning maps. They were used extensively by our first responders. Those maps are given to first responders. They have resources for them. Shady Glen Mobile Home Park is in there. It tells us how many people we should expect if we're having to evacuate that mobile home park. And there are other phone numbers, gate codes. Those are private to only public service personnel, because as you can imagine, some of the gate codes and whatnot, we do not want to get out to the public. We want to make sure we hold on to those tights for tight. Our MCV, our mobile command vehicle, you may have seen that. That was stationed at Station 30 that night, and then we brought it back to the command post. That allows our GIS company group of individuals to come in. It allows us to have a place to work from. Dispatchers can work out of there, and it really makes it seamless for us getting that information out, getting those maps made right there on the spot. Next slide. So as an overview, 3,400 evacuated and notified within the first 3 hours of the initial report of this fire. 1,920 people were repopulated within the first 48 hours of the initial report. 3,320 repopulated within the first 72 hours of this initial report. And then all 3,400 residents were repopulated on 8/10/2021 without any injuries or fatalities. Next one. Okay, so real quick, our original command post was at Milk Ranch and Spring Valley Road. About an hour after that, we moved over to Station 30. That was our second command post that we used throughout the night. And then the very next morning, we moved to Gold Country Fairgrounds command post and started working all the major operations, which the chief talked about, all the fire personnel and law enforcement personnel coming out of there. We had an incident management team that came out of Sacramento, a Type 3 team that came up and helped us with a lot of the planning. And then after 7 days, we were able to transfer everything back to CAL FIRE. We still have extra patrols happening over there in the burned areas. We're still taking care of the community over there. If you see anything or you need anything out there, give the sheriff's office a call. We'll come in and help out. Thank you.
So good evening, members of the council, members of the audience. Brian Egan, Battalion Chief, CAL FIRE, Placer County Fire Department, Colfax Alta Battalion. I apologize for my voice. It's still gone since the river fire started. So this was a career fire for me as the local CAL FIRE Battalion Chief and the local incident commander, the initial attack incident commander. Some of the things that the chief and Sergeant Griffiths have spoke about were the successes in this, the partnership that we've built with our law partners here in the county and in our other fire agencies in the county, along with the partnership that we've built here with the city and our community. A lot of the successes that we had here are shadowed over the loss that occurred in the 102 residential structures, almost 50% on the Placer County side versus the Nevada County side. And unfortunately, in a rapidly expanding incident as this, we can't save everything. But as part of that partnership that we have with our community, the defensible space that homeowners provide to their homes, the signing up for Placer Alert, they're knowing their areas, preparing to go, going to the Ready, Set, Go webpage and learning about what happens when we do have a fire in our community. And this was not only my battalion, but my wife could sit in our driveway and watch the header from our driveway. Fortunately for her, it was going the other direction, and she didn't have a whole lot of concern at that point in time. But she and I grew up in the community, and she went to high school here at Colfax and the elementary school here. And so there were a lot of very emotional moments as we went through the next few days, as we grasped the scope of the amount of damage, the amount of homes that had been lost, the amount of people in the community on both sides of the river that had been displaced for this. I cannot speak highly enough of our first responders that were on the initial attack and the extended attack portion of this fire. This fire had every intention to go major, just as the Caldor has, just as the Dixie has, and some of the other major incidents in the state of California this year. The initial attack response on both the fire and the loss side is what stopped it. This fire did not grow another square inch once the sun came up the following morning. The initial attack crews that got rolled into that night shift and into that following next day, they had line around the fire by 10 o'clock Thursday morning. And that's not an easy task when you have all of your toys and all your resources at home. And as Chief Estes mentioned, we were already in a state of drawdown because of all the other major fires that were going on in the region. But it was the partnership and the training and the work that we've all done over the last several years that made that a success. And I cannot speak highly enough of the public and how they responded so quickly to evacuate, to take the instruction of the plaster alert and the messaging that was going out. It was critical to the success in this. Again, only 2 civilian injuries. They happened within the first few minutes of the fire. They were actually the first house that was impacted on the Nevada County side. 2 firefighters, one in the initial stages of the attack and one later as a minor arm laceration. No loss of life. And that's no short miracle of the response that we had from the community and our first responders, law enforcement getting out ahead of this thing, getting people out of the way. So with that, Chief, Sergeant, do you have anything to add?
No, I'll just wrap it up and say thank you very much to the support we've had from the city council and all the community members in the city of Colfax. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Mayor Lohman just happened to be on an engine that initial attack period with, I believe with Roger, right? You were down there, and it was one of the first engines at scene. And as a captain with the Placer County Fire Department Company 36, also had a Colfax engine supporting our greater mission over the last few days at one of our state stations on ABH. So it really hits home here for our city council when we have one of our own that was out there on the ground serving the public. So as your fire chief, thank you very much for your support, and thanks to the public for your support. And thank you.
Everybody just stand up and give all these guys just a round of applause. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Did the investigation get finished?
Real quick for Councilmember Fatula. Actually, Chief Rufinat and I will be meeting tomorrow and addressing some of the final parts of the ongoing investigation, and we hope to have that out as soon as possible. Frankly, without giving you just the "it's still under investigation" answer, we just need to ensure that we are being very, very thorough and very objective on this before we make that determination. But it's on our high priority list.
Thank you.
Are you referring to, some of the major fires we've had, or the more significant fires, including the Bennett in Grass Valley, the bridge this last week in Auburn, those have been under active investigation, and I expect that we will see some information on that coming out to the public within the next 2 weeks.
What about like the Robbers Ravine
fires, same thing, or just?
Yeah, so some of those smaller fires, those cause and origins were determined that same day. Most of those other ones were accidental in nature. And thankfully those were suppressed within that initial attack period. Yeah. One of the things to note, I think, as Chief Egan said, the same day as this fire started, not only was there large fire commitment around the North State, but some of the initial attack crews were assigned to a working structure fire in North Auburn, just down from our headquarters. And as I turned down Milk Ranch, they dispatched a new vegetation fire at Weimar Crossing and Interstate 80. So there is stuff that happens all the time that thankfully all of you never hear about, and it never makes the front page of the paper. And that's part of the success of this collaborative nature.
Funny that you mentioned that fire. I was first on scene to that fire. I was right behind my office. Yeah, that structure fire. Yeah, the structure fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys again.
Okay, thank you
Very much. All right. We don't have a CHP representative with us tonight. Chamber of Commerce? No? No? Kim? Anything?
Mr. Mayor, council members, Tim Ryan with the Colfax Chamber of Commerce. Probably the only reason why Sally's not up here, she just got back from Spain. So she was enjoying a very nice vacation, a well-deserved vacation. She's been a great asset for the Chamber of Commerce and really has moved it along well. Just a quick thing, since the fire is going and we have opened up the chamber again, the office, we have been getting calls in from people who want to donate, help out, and also other people that are in need. And just today, we had a lady who called from Pismo Beach, and she says she's going to be coming up here with her husband and bringing their motorhome. And being that we have the fundraiser going on Saturday, they'll be there helping out however they can. She said that they participated at Paradise, and this is what they do. So we're really looking forward to seeing them coming up. And then we had another lady who called and said, we have a home that's available for somebody who needs it, who may have lost their home. And it could not have been more than 20 minutes later, there was a lady who called us and was asking for some assistance for a home. They are living in a trailer right now. And so we're able to put these people together. So we've had some great response from people that are helping out and then people that are in need. And so with the Chamber of Commerce being open, if you know of any help that's needed, we have a great resource on our website. And yeah, feel definitely great about that. And also too, just another big thank you to the emergency services. They did a fantastic job. So thank you very much.
All right. Do we have any other agency or community representatives? Got anything? No? Okay. You got something to announce?
Oxon McCleary, 127 Sanders Lane, Colfax. The VFW is doing their breakfasts again on Sunday, the second Sunday of the month. It starts 8 in the morning to 11. The Sierra Vista Community Center now has open studio again from 1 to 4 on Tuesdays. If any artist is interested, bring your stuff. We have other art teachers there that can help you out with anything. I guess that's it.
Thanks, Foxy. All right, item 4, we have no presentations, no public hearings tonight. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar will be approved in blanket motion. Does anybody have any changes, anything you want to pull from the consent calendar with just some minutes?
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Calendar approved. 7, public comment. This is the time if any members of the public would like to come up and address the council on any items not on the agenda. Please feel free to come up. We'll limit comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Tim Dion, and I would like to thank the council, sheriff's department, CAL FIRE, and the public for giving me the time to talk. So I wasn't here for the fire incident, but since we're on it, I'll just leave my comment there. So I first would like to apologize for following the fire truck up to the fire to my parents' house to check on them and their animals. I was told not to, and I disobeyed sheriff order, and so I apologize for distraction or any slowing down that would have caused for the thing. I was there. I'm watching the smoke. My sister's house is down the road, say this way, and I'm watching the smoke, and it's going left. I'm like, okay, we're good. Then all of a sudden, it shifted. Okay, I was out there for a good half an hour putting up sprinklers. I got our tractor hot wired. I was pushing dirt down the hill. Wasn't running it too good. The fire's coming. I'm looking at that red wall of flames that you can see the trees through. You know, no smoke, just that initial rush, and that makes it past my parents' house. And so I'm waiting to ride out with a firefighter. The first one's truck I got into. It was a 4-door white truck. There was a younger gentleman in there. We're driving out and there's a little spot fire on the side of the road. Nothing else around. I'm like, dude, stop, I gotta put that out. So I get out, I put it out with my hands and I ask him, do you have a shovel or a rake? No, nothing. Good. Later, I'm staying here to try to save my parents' house. He goes, and this whole time I'm in contact with the bulldozer driver. He's, telling me I'm following him out. We have a good agreement. That's fine. Okay, next is the fire meets up from both sides, and it met right in the middle of the road. And the bulldozer guy's sitting there, and the fire's just twirling. He's not going anywhere. Me, myself, I know where I'm at. I'm aware of my situation, and I know where a clear hilltop is, where there's not a twig on the ground, where I know the area to where I know I'm safe. The whole time I'm safe. I'm feeling safe. I'm trying to squirt the roof. Okay, so I'm in my car at this point with the pet. And the bulldozer driver, who was a hero, that guy is a monster, and he's just a great hero. He does a lap around the house and clears out everything, pushes cars out of the way, takes out stuff. He tells me my air conditioner's on fire. Yeah, we water. I go up there to try to put out a couple sticks that are by the air conditioner, with my shoes and my pants, and the corner of the porch is on fire. So I'm grabbing leaves off the ground and trying to snuff it out. It's windy. It's windy. The fire's going. And when I left, I thought maybe the gas in the boards for the porch, and I had a sprinkler on there. Maybe that would save the house. That house was still standing. I had a pretty good idea that it wasn't going to burn. That was the second house. Listen to my story. Okay, so
I'll give you another 60 seconds.
So he tells me if I have water. So I go up there, he ran over the hose, kind of melted. I have no water. And if I would have had a fire extinguisher worth of water, or a knowledgeable firefighter that's trained to fight fires. This is my first experience in fires. Okay, I'm not scared because I'm controlled, but I really don't know what to do. There's a big, huge box truck right in my parents' front door. I could load it up in their house and half hours I was out there. I did it. I'm saving the house. I lost the house before. I'm saving this house. So when I finally ride out with the bulldozer, I'm the guy that rode out with the bulldozer in the pet. I can feel the heat from the flames, and these flames are coming back, the initial flames came through, the second flames were coming through, and it was pretty much gone to where I could walk around the house. There was smoke and all that. Flames over here by my other brother's house. I finally got in the tractor. I forgot the dog, so we had to back down the road and get the dog out of the car. And I'm apologizing. I'm so sorry that I have to waste this guy's time, for the dog and myself. And I'm just feeling really bad. You know, we drive up to my brother's house, and the injured firefighter is a longtime friend of my family. His name's Tommy Harkins. He took refuge inside my brother's house. Like I said, the initial big flames went through, everything was burned. And I'm thinking, God, their house is still there. There's 5 trucks in this driveway, 5 fire trucks. We're good, you know, we're good. I rode out of there in another different truck with the lady that had a dog and nowhere else to sit. So I had to sit behind her. I don't know what that situation was, but basically they were aggressive with me, you know, for the most part. And I thank you for that. But as we go down the hill, here's the firefighters, you know, and I thank you guys for your services. But at this time, I'm pretty upset at the whole situation. Houses are burning. And here's a whole group of fully geared guys, you know, watching the smoke. Some of them have their cameras out. And I'm dropped out to the command post. Barbara was told to get me right out of there. I walked up the hill. Here's a dozer, a tanker, and more firefighters with their phones. And I'm asking, what are you filming? You know, why aren't you guys fighting the fire? The first responders, you know? And I'm not understanding why nobody's fighting fires and like I watched on the news later, they're helping to get Doc to move his regular furniture off, his furniture down at the bottom of the hill. There's no fire down there, there's no danger to which. And my parents' house didn't burn until like a half hour later. I saw it on the news, I still have the footage when the helicopter from the news is flying over their house and nothing else is burning. There's no smoke, there's no flames. Their house is just fully engulfed. If I would have had 2 fire extinguishers, I could have put out that porch and probably stopped the other porch. And I'm not here to talk bad about, firefighters. My parents were firefighters. I understand it's dangerous. I don't expect anybody to do anything dangerous. But when you hear the frontline firefighters that didn't put a drop of water on my parents' house, a stucco and party plane house that had a little bit of wood, and yes, some leaves on the roof, but I was there after those leaves went out. I was there so long the fire on the roof went out because there was not much to burn there. There was no fire. It started from a little porch that came up the back way, and no effort was given to fight to put out the 2nd house that was in that fire. The 3rd one was my brother's. It burnt too. My sister's house, the 1st house, burned down 2 days after the fire went through. It was a standing house. Get back out there, down to the ground. There's fire hoses everywhere. They gave it some effort, and I understand that. That's probably why it took a couple days to burn down. But maybe the sheriffs did such a great job because they were really prepared. They knew the area, they knew the roads, they knew what they had to do. A lot of these firefighters seemed like they were running for their lives out of fear and not being prepared and not knowing where they were. And they didn't know where the water was. They didn't know where the canal down the hill was. They didn't. And I understand that. So maybe when you guys are doing the training, do it with the community involvement. Like you do a school drill when there's a fire. Everybody's involved in it. Everybody knows their job. Everybody knows where to get water. Not just, man, there's a fire. What do we do? Well, we have this command post. Yes. 30 people down there, none of them died in the fire, they're all talking about it. And really, if I would have had a little bit of water, I should have probably saved at least my parents' house. Because like I said, it's hard to put out the porch. That's all I had. No help. No help. And that's all I have to say. Anybody has any questions about my experience?
I could just say I was up at your sister's house. We were watching that part of the fire. There's all sorts of things that start these homes. An ember cast is really the big thing. It's not even usually the direct flame impingement. Probable ember cast a few days later. Those are things that you can't find in tight spaces, or they get into little crevices, and it happens.
Yeah,
and we put every resource. I know from being out there, we put every resource on that fire at every home we possibly could, and did everything we could to save every home on that hill.
Yeah,
including torching an engine that was up there.
That was my friend's engine.
Exactly.
He was the one that was underneath the trying to. I know that story. I was there. Not a
So
drop got put on my parents' house, Sean. Not one drop. And I was waiting for fire. I needed somebody to drive a tractor that I had running. Nobody. I was kind of. What do I do? Ask firefighters for help. They should be offering their help. The only person that helped me was the bulldozer driver going, "Hey," giving my attention, and I would talk to him. And we had a plan. Our plan worked. My car, I left it there running, and they're like, I'm asking, you think it's gonna be all right? Because all it should be all right. And Amber landed on the seat, just burnt my seat with my window down and my car's still running. And he did a circle around my car after he dropped me off. I mean, he didn't have to do that, and I appreciate that, and I understand that. But when you have people like him willing to risk his life driving around my parents' house when the fire's still there, I mean, I couldn't believe he did that. You know, that was great, and that was all it needed. And some water.
We did have an engine down at your sister's house too during that time. And we spread out everything we could.
Are we in public comment? Excuse me. Are we in public comment?
What did she say?
And so,
Maybe it turned
I said I want order.
I just like to say that
Okay.
maybe community involvement, a couple of tests, like with the community, going to the houses, saying, this is the plan if the fire happens. We're in such critical times right now with forest fires. Why not? I mean, just one day, skip, you know, washing the house or whatever, and go out in the community, meet the people, find the water, have a plan. And that's what the permit, when you pay for a permit for your house, when you pay the processing fee, a lot of cities for the fire department. You expect that for the fire department at the house. You know, that's what we pay for, right? I mean, that's what it's for, the fire department. You might not care, and I understand that, but, you know.
Well, I'm not gonna say it. You know, I take objection to the fact that you say I don't care. My department and the county fire department spends thousands, if not tens of thousands of hours a year on public education and public interaction in and around all the communities in Placer County. We work with the community every single year. The preventative and pre-fire efforts, fuel reduction efforts are a huge part of our efforts. Frankly, you know, we talk about evacuations early. You did not evacuate early, did you? Yep. And so you became an inhibitor to the effort. And to say that the folks that were on that fire in the first 20 to 30 minutes did not know those streets as well as the sheriff's office is a false statement. They were all your local resources from the local stations, including the volunteer firefighters right here in Colfax who know the streets just as well as anyone. The 30 people around that command post, including myself, your fire chief, were there to make command decisions, okay? So I would ask with all due respect that until you've walked in my shoes, show us the respect of us knowing our job. This is my 31st year in the fire service. I'm a professional, okay? Everything we did, every action that my command officers took on this fire, every action from every single firefighter was done with the objective to save life and property in the community and unincorporated areas of Colfax. And I will stand on that tonight and into the future. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I would just say there might be some room for it as there is for every.
Okay, let's move on.
We'll go ahead and move on. Thank you for your comments. I understand it's. I understand it's frustrating. I know from being there, we did everything we could and we had the best resources possible out on that fire and the most resources possible. It was an amazing effort from every single person out there to save every last life and property that they did. And I definitely have to support what the chief said there. We did everything we could. And I do apologize that your family suffered so heavy in those losses. Do we have any other public comment? No. Nobody online? Here then. All right. Thank you. All right. We'll do council and staff reports, committee reports. David?
Nothing to report this time.
No.
Yeah, just a couple things. We had a number of different people on council that trying to support the sheriffs and all. We went around to all the checkpoints. We brought food out to the different checkpoints for people there. We even helped them with a couple of people that wanted to return back to their house while there were still trees down across the road, trying to say, just give the guys enough time to get this stuff cleared out. So we did a lot of tours around the area just to see what could we do from a city standpoint to try to be able to support the guys out in the field doing the work. So, one of the CHP officers that we talked to, I guess it was on the first night or the morning of the second day, was also a person who lost his house. And he was still there on his post out there to try to keep people from going down the one road and it's like, how can you be working right now when you lost your house? And he said, it's my job. Just our thanks goes out to all the guys that put all that effort in. So, yep.
Arnie, did you have anything to report?
I just, the only thing that I have is that FEMA is going to be here. I believe that they came today, but they'll be here the 9th through the 12th out at Sierra Vista Community Center. So we want to make sure that we do an outreach to the survivors of the river fire, because this is specifically for the river fire, for them to sign up. So I want to make sure that that's online. And what was the other thing? Oh, our fundraiser this Saturday from 2 to 9. We need volunteers. So please, if you can, sign up to volunteer, because we need your help for this fantastic event. And it's also a 9/11 celebration of 20 years, which 9/11 is kind of what steered me to public what I do. So anyway, thanks. That's all I got, Sean. Mayor.
Thanks, Marty. All right. Our last Fire Safe Council meeting was a big success. We had quite a few people out and got a lot of interest in forming new Firewise communities. That's a great thing. That's going to help us and help our fire crews get in there and be able to protect the houses and our structures a lot better. It'll help your house stand alone a lot easier, getting these Firewise communities and the fuel reduction work that we need done. Our next Fire Safe Council meeting is scheduled for September 23rd at 6 p.m. here at Colfax City Hall. Wes.
Mr. Mayor, did we ask Trinity if she had anything, or? Yeah, she's on.
All right, Trinity, do you have anything?
Well, I was just going to report on the fundraiser this weekend that we've been working. I know Marnie did already touch on it a little bit. But yeah, if everybody can get out to that this weekend on the 11th, proceeds are going to go directly back to victims of Nevada County. So it's, for that. A lot of work has been put into trying to make this event happen on very short notice. So I just wanted to give some recognition to Green Machine, because I know that they're really hating me right now for getting them into this. So it's just been a lot of work, and we really appreciate everything they do. And who've really stepped up too, like Jen Williams, who's put in a lot of work. Just wanted to make sure we give them a little bit of recognition for the massive undertaking that they've taken on. But that's pretty much all I had. Oh, I did want to mention really quick again, just with the air quality advisements, kids going back to school, sports starting up, be sure to keep an eye on the air quality every day, because we are under an ongoing air quality advisement at this time due to all the fires going on. So, just remember, if the air quality, if we're looking at AQI above 100, you should really, think twice about what activities you want to participate in. It really adds up, and it can affect your health pretty poorly.
Wes, is there anything you can do with the sound quality? Because that echo on the voice coming over is just horrible.
With an audio company currently to get a proposal to do some integration and upgrade the system a little bit, hopefully in the next month. So
yeah, because it's hard to understand people on the phone.
We recognize that. We were doing the best we can with the integration that we got in front of us.
Better than last time. Thanks, Trinity. Go ahead, Wes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item I wanted to mention tonight. We're well into the PSPS season as it is. Placer County's not had an alert yet I just wanted to give an update on the microgrid station that is currently being placed behind 7 North Main Street. As you see, the construction stalled for a little while. They encountered some issues. I won't bore everybody with what's going on, but the new target date to have the station up and running is October 1st. Hopefully we don't get any more delays like we saw, like fiber in the ground that nobody wanted to claim and those types of things. It's mind blowing, but that's kind of where we're at. All I have.
Thank you, Wes. All right, we'll move on to item 9, council business. Item 9A, 10 East Grass Valley Street, Colfax Hotel. Presentation by Emmanuel. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Lohman, members of the council. Is this on?
Yep.
It's this item before you this evening is a study session to provide some non-binding feedback input to a prospective buyer of the Colfax, the historic Colfax Hotel. Mr. Lowry, who's here in the back of the room this evening, is in contract to purchase the property and has floated an idea conceptual concept, which is detailed in the staff report that is before you. The project site is right across the street from near the railroad tracks in the heart of the downtown. The property is approximately 1/3 of an acre. It's 100 feet wide along the street frontage by 140 feet deep. Next slide. The proposal is to have a mixed-use project with restaurant or retail on the first floor up by the street. And then behind that, 8 hotel rooms. On the second and third floor, the proposal is to put in 8 multifamily units that would be available for either long-term or short-term occupancy. Next slide. This is a conceptual floor plan. The street is on the left side. So the retail space, restaurant space would be up front, approximately 30 feet deep. And then the 8 hotel rooms would be around the building with 4 rooms on each side, connecting rooms between the backs of the connecting doors between the backs of the rooms. And then the next slide, the second floor, access to the apartments on the second floor would be from the balcony. There's 2 or 3 sets of stairs that would go from the first floor porch balcony up to the second floor. And then the entrances to the 8 units would be from the balcony on the second floor. And then those are interior stairs that you see that would go up to the 3rd floor, which is on the next slide. And this is where the bedrooms would be up on the 3rd floor. Next slide. Just a few views of the property. The left side of the screen here, the property line is pretty much where the photograph is cut off. There is a flat area that extends further to the left. That is not part of the property. It looks like it would be, but it is not. Next slide. This is kind of the northwest corner. So the retail restaurant would be on the bottom left side of this photograph, the hotel rooms to the right, and then the apartments that would also be available for short-term stay would be on the 2nd and 3rd floor. Next slide. And this is a view from the railroad side of the building. There is an alley that goes up on the right-hand side. Parking would be available behind the building and possibly also in the front. This is part of city property out front here, so it would require an agreement with the city to utilize that area for parking for this project. Next slide. The general plan identifies the land use as commercial. The general plan does speak to and take some of the language from the zoning code and incorporates it into the general plan and discusses retail commercial versus highway commercial. The zoning is retail commercial. One of the purposes of the retail commercial district is really to promote uses that meet the needs of local residents and those of the immediate surrounding area. Next slide. So the land use entitlements that would be required, restaurant and retail is a principally permitted use in the retail commercial district, so that would be allowed by right. Lodging is, my interpretation is that it's principally permitted. The code has got some lack of clarification in it. Lodging is listed as a use in the list of commercial uses, but when you go to the table that shows what type of a permit is allowed, lodging's for some reason it's not in that table. I think it's a typographical error. But to me, it seems like that the intent is that lodging be a permitted use in this district. And then multifamily is allowed, however, that is subject to a conditional use permit. I think if application came forward, we would impose some conditions or recommend some conditions, including having a limited time on a conditional use permit for long-term occupancy of the units on the second and third floor. I did a real brief parking analysis. If we don't know exactly how many bedrooms those units would have, assuming that 4 of the units are 1 bedroom and 4 are 2 bedroom, and we have 8 hotel rooms and either 1,000 square feet of retail or 500 square feet of restaurant, the total number of spaces would be between 24 and 27 parking spaces, plus 1 oversized space that the code requires for hotel uses. Next slide. So that concludes my presentation. This opportunity for any members of the public that are interested to chime in on this conceptual proposal.
Can I back you up just to one of your slides?
Yes, of course.
Go back to the one on the zoning.
Yes.
The other one is this in the historic district?
It is in the historic district.
So
yes,
you need to add that to
absolutely.
your slide.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
yes, it is the historic hotel, and I apologize for that oversight, but yes, it is definitely in the historic district and would be subject to the historic criteria. Thank you for pointing that out. So with that, I conclude my presentation and request any feedback, input that the council may have to help the prospective buyer make his decisions as to his next steps. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the public? Trinity's raising her hand. Tam, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, John. Hey, Mick, just given the lack of clarity in our zoning code, do you think this is something that should probably be addressed separate from this issue?
She said,
I think the question was, given the lack of clarity in the zoning, is this is something that should be addressed separately?
Probably address it in
Yeah.
zoning text.
I just wanted to make sure we, potentially bring this back up so that future applicants, or when this does come back for more than just a feedback session, that, we've taken the time to resolve this lack of clarity.
We could do that in conjunction with processing this application.
Excellent. That's all I had for now. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Tim, sorry, go ahead.
Emmanuel, how many parking spaces are there now for the hotel?
So there is a large flat area behind the building on the, I guess that'd be the freeway side, so the east side of the building. It's not paved. Right now it's dirt. I don't know how many spaces could be accommodated back there. It is a fairly large area. And there are also several parking spaces in the general vicinity that are not on the property, but potentially could be made available to this use. But that would require approval by the city council.
and there's the side street that you mentioned earlier.
Correct,
Yeah.
between the building and
Yeah.
the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
So one thing I measured, it's 125 feet. There's an existing parking space on that alley side. So that could potentially accommodate an additional 12 or 13 spaces. And if you were to allow us to count or use the spaces in front of the hotel, there's currently 14 right out front. And then that would give us a little bit of extra room in the back to, have additional parking and something maybe like a communal area where we might have a barbecue area or something like that. Just real briefly, we have been, first of all, I was born and raised in Placer County. My wife was raised in Auburn. Myself in Forest Hill, went to Placer. We've been residents here our entire lives. We currently own and operate a couple of smaller boutique style hotels, as well as several vacation rental homes. And so in looking at this project, originally we had hoped, or our first thought was, we could just do a really cool boutique motel. And unfortunately, when you get in there, you find that the second and third floor are completely framed out for apartments, townhomes, whatever you want to call them, with the plumbing done, the sprinkler systems in, all the party walls, the stairs, the framing. So it's really cost prohibitive to remove all that stuff, to reconfigure it for a different usage. I don't think that there's enough dollars. The project just wouldn't pencil. And so as we started to investigate it, we found that the council was very concerned about, long-term housing downtown. And so we tried to come up with the best solution in that, you will get the 8 hotel rooms. So there will be downtown living. And then the upstairs units, we could use as vacation rentals, as short-term, or we have found with our homes that we get CAL FIRE, U.S. Forest Service is a customer of ours, PG&E, Mountain Peoples. So we do a lot of long-term, month, 2 months, 3-month contracts with these agencies that would absolutely utilize the space here. And so, if you look at it through a lodging aspect, you're kind of roundabout by getting to where you want to be, even though they're not, so-called motel rooms. The one thing that I'm concerned about is, there's the new hotel being built on the freeway, and then there's an additional proposal or at least approval for quite a few more rooms. And so I just don't think it's feasible to have just a straight motel. If the hotel had never been stripped or touched, and you could call it, a boutique motel, then I think it would work. But as it is today, unfortunately, pretty much everything in that hotel is new. The siding, the windows, the doors, the framing. The only thing that's left are the floors, and they're covered up with plywood. They have 2 sheets of plywood over them. So it's, it's tough it is a boutique motel, and it would be, but we have to put back, some tin ceiling and some cool posts and really make it into something cool again, and just like it was. So if you would consider it, we would like to take, we could take this project on. We've done a lot of projects in the last 10 years. We've remodeled a lot of old homes, mostly square nail, Gold Rush, California houses. And we definitely have, that's our sweet spot. And so, if you'd consider approval of this, it's something that we would move forward with immediately. So, thank you. Do you have any questions?
Guys got any questions?
I just think it's great. Great idea. I just watching it just sit there and nice to meet you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, did you have any more public comments before we go to council comments?
Thank you very much. Any public
Mayor
comment?
Loman, can I read a public comment on Facebook?
Yes, please.
It's a short one.
All right.
Tom Carnham just said that he wants to say he's pleased that the hotel has an owner who's going to restore this beautiful historic building.
Thank you. Sally? Yeah.
I think I speak for our chamber. We're delighted that you're interested in doing this. We've all been, the whole, our whole community has been looking at this hotel for years and years. Our chamber has been looking at this hotel for years, wishing and hoping that the right person would come along and do the right thing. I think it's reasonable what you're asking. And in lieu of the fact that there is another hotel in, I think having some extended stay rooms and possible, longer term renters, if it's an upscale type of establishment, I'm assuming that you're going to do it right and it's not going to be low income or anything like that. The fact that you're local and that you're also the owner of the Dutch Flat Hotel, is that correct? I think our chamber is very, very open. And I hope the council will agree.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
My name is Gary Mappa. I live in Applegate. I'm a resident of Placer County, District 5 since 1960. Colfax has always been one of my rivals because I went to Placer High. And if many of you know some of the history of Colfax, you know the Morrison family. And this is where we came to buy our 501 Levi's and play around with the Morrison boys. I'm a 1977 licensee, California State of real estate licensee and a real estate broker. I have a business license in Colfax and I have an office in Auburn, and I base most of my real estate in Placer, El Dorado, Nevada counties, and of course, all of California. The Colfax Hotel has been vacant for probably half of my life. And that's inexcusable. I knew the original, well, not the original family, but the Brown family who owned it. Recently, I've had conversations with Mr. Figueroa, who had it prior to the present owner. I went through the building with him and he showed me all the work that he did. And it was fashioned such as apartments, condos with retail downstairs and the same similar use that Leaf is talking about. Part of my handout is recently I was appointed to the task force, the housing task force by the Placer County Board of Supervisors. I'm one of 9 appointees, 4 realtors, and I have a keen interest in, of course, housing. And I don't care what category of housing, whether it's entry level, workforce, housing for families, children, any kind of housing. We have a definite shortage of housing, that's no secret. Part of my handout was excerpts from the Colfax housing element. And I didn't dwell on too much of that because there's 128 or 130 pages. And I'm sure you guys have all read it thoroughly, right? And Colfax is committed to developing 97 units between now and 2029. This project, if approved as is with 8 some type of housing units, in addition to what Leaf proposes, would satisfy 8% of your commitment for the housing element right out of the starting gate. The building inside, and I went through it with Figueroa when he was trying to develop it, is virtually finished, and I agree with Leaf to make any changes from what's there now would be prohibitive. Let me go back to my notes. In the river fire, which was discussed tonight, I thank all of you for your service. There were 142 structures damaged. And whether or not they're in the city limits of Colfax, Placer County, let me have my daughter's 3 minutes.
I'll give you another minute. Go ahead.
Doesn't matter where they are. That's a negative impact, and it takes away from the number of houses that are available. So we're already losing, ground on our housing element. So I encourage you to unanimously consider Leaf's proposal. And I also, in my packet, I handed you, and I'm not speaking for the task force, I'm speaking for me. I encourage you to consider this project and do whatever you can to add to the housing shortage and provide housing for I don't care what category of people. We need it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
In the packet, there's a list of who you can contact from the task force at the county. And I really think that somebody from the city might want to participate in their monthly meetings.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. All right.
Mary Fitula, Colfax citizen and business owner in the historic downtown district. And I had the privilege of touring the old hotel with Leaf. I thoroughly agree with his vision. I can see what he's going for. What you didn't see here in the presentation is photos of the work that he's done. He's taken absolutely trashed properties and restored them and given them a great historic look, very classy. So I see his vision and I see that he really has a good way of looking at this. And this is a rare opportunity for Colfax because if we don't jump on that, we're going to lose someone who really has a good vision, a good stake in our community. And then this will be a wonderful jumping off point to build our community and give it some really good focal point to help build up our historic district. So I'm encouraging you to vote on this because otherwise you're going to have a building that will just be decrepit and have to be torn down. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item? Do we have anything online?
Anything on Zoom?
Okay, we'll do the council comment if we don't have any other public comment. I'll just go down the line. Marnie, did you have something for this project? Any comments?
Yeah, no, I don't have anything. I think Sally really covered. I just want to echo what she said. And then thank you, Joe, for bringing that point up about the historic district. That's all I got.
Thank you. David, any other comments?
Just again, I think it's great. And I have family in Dutch Flat, so I'm very familiar with that location and what you've done with that. I think you did a good job with that. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I did a walkthrough with Leaf of the whole property there. We went through all the rooms in there and basically everything that was historic has been gutted out of the building before his potential ownership. So when people look at like, is it a historic building? Could it be restored? It's just a shame that everything was ripped out, right? So all the structural work for the building has already been done by the prior owner. All the plumbing work in the building has already been done by the prior owner. All the fire sprinkler work has been done by the prior owner. So you're already committed to the design, and based on how much construction has gone on in there, somewhere the city has plans for that because you can't do all that work without plans. So we've already in concept if we gave them approval on the earlier plans, had approval for this arrangement in the building. I think his concept of doing the restaurant and the hotel rooms on the first floor fits really good with the downtown area. I'm also a little concerned with the Best Western Hotel absorbing a lot of the short-term stay rooms that's out there, that you need something that gives him cash flow as he develops the property. And that's why I think the extended stay potential / apartment potential for the second and third floors is good. There is no stairwell access to the third floor, so you can't split that off as a separate layer by itself. And by the way, a third floor requires an elevator, so by doing interior stairs and making it a two-floor apartment or two-floor extended stay room, you get around that whole issue there. And if you had to add an elevator to that building, my guess is there goes another $100,000 of cost. So I think his concept is really solid for where it's at. It's the first what I would call a viable owner that we'd have of a building that's got the skills, the demonstrated expertise of having renovated and historically restored a lot of other places. He's also an owner of several hotels in the area. So that gives him the mass that says when he advertises to bring like a special event up here and all, you can tap all of those resources in there. I think he's just got a rock solid plan. So thank you.
Thanks.
I just want to echo kind of a lot of what Joe was saying. You know, we've had proposals in the past regarding this building, you know, and specifically after we did our walkthrough a couple years ago, seeing that it was framed out in the manner it was. We've had people come to us before talking about long-term rental units, things like that, but at no point were we presented with a very thorough plan, you know, along with the guts that are needed to show that this is a viable project and that it will. This is really the first time that we've had someone come forward in a long time that's shown that they're fully capable of making this really become a reality and having it work out well for the community and be, you know, conducive to the community and not a nuisance downtown. So I just wanted to, again, echo a lot of Joe's sentiments and say that I'm very supportive of this project. And I think that the concept of using kind of the extended stay Airbnb model will be really helpful, especially for the economy up here. Thank you.
Thanks, Trudy. It was a pleasure to get to talk to you. When we first got to meet up, I did get a chance. I've seen the Dutch Flat Hotel and all the amazing work you've done there. And I did get a chance to look through a couple of the other properties that you've done amazing renovation work too. My biggest holdup on this was the long-term housing. I really wasn't my first choice of have anything there. Having that there, but I definitely think that you are the right person to do the renovations on this building, and I fully support your plan to continue ahead. So I think we have pretty much unanimous consent here that I think it'll be you'll be a great addition to the community, and we really appreciate your interest.
Do we need to vote on this?
Nope. No. Just information.
I have one suggestion. It'd be great if the restaurant was an Italian one.
Pizza truck.
Yeah, not pizza, real restaurant.
Right. Great. So we'll move on to item 9B if there aren't any other questions, any other comments. Okay, perfect. Then 101 Railroad Street, Union Pacific West, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, the city's been pursuing the potential of leasing the California Fruit Growers Association located at 101 Railroad Street since the structure was removed in 2017. The city and Union Pacific did come to an agreement for the lease for the value of $5,000 with the option to consider an inflation percentage increase after 3 years. Lease term is in perpetuity or until either the party chooses to terminate the agreement with a 30-day notice. The intent that the staff is proposing for this lot at this time is for a parking lot. In the initial term of this, we would look at doing some kind of all-weather surface on there. In your staff report, there's actually a diagram of what a parking lot entry could be long-term in there. We would work with this in conjunction with the downtown streetscape concept for the long-term improvements to the site as well, which would be probably a year to 2 years out on there. So staff is recommending tonight that council authorize the city manager to enter into this lease agreement with Union Pacific for this this lot over at 101.
Can you restate the rental amount and the period of time?
It's for $5,000 annually cost for the lease, and it's in perpetuity.
Yep.
That it's ongoing until either party chooses to terminate the agreement.
And the square footage or acreage is?
I don't have that information right offhand.
Okay.
With that, staff is looking for council's authorization to move forward with the lease.
Can I get a motion to approve? Item 90?
Move to approve.
I'm sorry, hold on. Yeah, you're right. Public comment? Do you have any public comment on this item? Distracted, sorry. Nope, no public comment?
Sorry.
Any public comment here? No. Marnie, do you have any comments on the item?
No, I just say we move to approve it. I've read everything in the packet.
David?
Pretty straightforward, yeah.
Go.
Yeah, I had talked with Wes about this before, and doing something simple like putting base rock over the property there just to give it stabilization would allow almost immediate use of that area, and makes it kind of all-weather thing. Plus, the more you use it, the more packed it gets in there. So if you then do as part of a city plan to pave it down the road, you got a really good base. So, yeah.
Brady?
I have no comments at this time. I'll provide a second if you need one.
Great. I get a motion?
Motion approved?
And
Second.
okay.
Move to,
Can we roll call since we have everybody?
Sure, I'll roll call Zoom first. So Councilmember Mendoza,
aye.
Burris,
Aye.
Ackerman,
Aye.
Fatula,
Aye.
and Mayor Loman.
Yeah. All right, item 10, go to the order. Marnie, you got anything?
I don't have anything for the good of the order this week, but I will next week. Thank you. Our next meeting.
Thanks. David?
I just want to thank just first responders, Cal Fire, Placer, County Sheriff, et cetera, everyone. We did avoid like a potential disaster with the river fire, yes. Oh, anyway, so that's my comment. Good.
After, I guess you could have, for the chief, you could ask after. I'm out. You can close the meeting.
Absolutely. A multitude of ways that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, this is a good discussion to have, but you guys can have that offline.
We'll do that offline.
Or we gotta bring everybody up to the microphone because the people online can't hear. Okay, so either's okay, but, right, okay,
Do it offline.
right. So I have one item, Railroad Days is coming up. So just so everybody's aware, it's the 17th and 18th and 19th, Saturday and Sunday. So it looks like, I was talking to Fred earlier today, that the event is all vendor booths are sold out. So that's really good. I have no idea how big the turnout's going to be, but I don't think it's going to be small. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So the gunfighters will be here. They're going to provide security overnight so the vendors don't have to tear their booths down and set them back up. So we got a lot of things going on. We even have a train driver that's going to be driving the train around. Over here, that's Wes. Right. So that's really important. And then I just want to say another just word of thanks to all the people that helped in the fire, the officers, the firefighters and all. And just the word of condolences for all the people that have lost stuff. I wish the losses would have been zero. I don't know how you get to that point, but, the Chamber's website, please take advantage of it. When you see needs that are out there, especially if you lost a home and all, get it over to Tim. Those guys have been doing just a miraculous job of trying to help people. Right. Yeah, Trinity, do you have any comments?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we are adjourned.
Motion.